ready for another lesson?
Hello, listeners. It's Postpod Adam. For some reason, the first 10 seconds of the episode did not record, which was weird. Don't really know what happened. All you really missed out on was me saying, hey, what's up? It's Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast, and then you're really going to get right into it. So sorry about that. Just want to give you a heads up. That's what you're about to hear is the middle of the intro. Do you agree with that, Nathaniel?
Yeah, I'd say it's borderline casual occasionally.
Fair enough. Well, on today's episode, in the news, we have some good news stories for you. Two good news stories. No trailer talk this week. The new to streaming. It'll be covered 2 weeks because we missed last week. We didn't release last week, and it's the first week of the month for December that we're covering.
We missed you, everyone.
Yeah, we did. We really did. We're sorry. We were busy. We'll get to that. Yeah. And then we'll do what we're watching, and our main review for the episode is Requiem for a Dream. But before we get to any of that, I'm your host, Adam Schwartz, and joining me today is Nutcracker Nathaniel.
Ooh,
that's a new one. We're switching
that's
with
a
the
new
season.
one.
Yeah, it's holidays, man.
We could be Nutcracker Nizza. I like that too.
Ooh, Nutcracker Nizza. I like that as well.
That's my gamer tag for all of you out there who may not know. Otherwise, that's just gonna be a really weird joke.
Yeah, we probably should have clarified. And also joining me is Curbside Ty.
Hey,
you're on a roll so far for these.
Yeah, he's put some thought into these. These are
Thank
pre-written.
Thank you. Yeah, I did sit down today as I was making the show notes. I was like, I gotta make the new ones for the month, and here they are. And last but not least is Snowcat Blake.
What's going on, guys?
There we go. The holidays, man. I'm excited. We are here. It's a very exciting time.
We talked about how Halloween's my favorite holiday. Is Christmas your guys's? I assume Blake's might also be Halloween, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'd probably go Halloween. I actually don't mind Christmas. Christmas is probably my second favorite one, just because you roll right into the New Year's Eve as well. You know, I just feel like you kind of got a few things to look forward to.
Party Blake at it again.
Not in a pandemic.
Great point. I mean, solo party.
Absolutely. Of less than 10.
Zoom parties.
That's right.
Yeah,
we'll do a back row New Year's episode.
Yeah, I like the holiday time. I don't know if Christmas is necessarily my favorite holiday, but I really like the holidays.
That's spelled with a Z-E, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The holidays. All right. Well, we're gonna have a long one. We're assuming for you. We're gonna try to get through this swiftly, but not too swiftly.
A lot of hot content.
Yeah, but with the missing week, we got a lot of catching up to do, guys.
For sure.
So, well, let's get right into the news here. Wonder Woman 1984 heading to HBO Max and theaters December 25th. So Christmas Day, you can see Wonder Woman 1984 in open theaters across the country. If there's a theater open by you, you can see it. And it's also heading to HBO Max. So if you have a HBO Max subscription, you don't have to pay for it. It is not like the Disney Plus subscription thing with
that's
Mulan.
big time.
It is just if you have HBO Max, you can watch this. So
for like 30 days or something, right?
Is there limited time?
I think that's what it is, but I mean, I would even go on the limb like what Adam just reached out on, or which Adam just confirmed, that not having to pay an extra $20 or whatever to watch it is big time, man.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, so, I think the plan is they do the theater run this HBO Max like limited release, and then like after the 30 days, like I imagine it'll probably go to like VOD too.
For sure.
So like you can get it on your Apple or your iTunes or your Amazon or anything like that. Which I think is smart. From what everyone's been saying, it's kind of like it's definitely a marketing thing. You know, they've got a certain amount of money in this too, but also I've heard some rumblings that like kind of the director and everyone's kind of happy about it too, because like this movie was shot in 2018, so like there's references in there. There's there's things that need to happen in the story that needs to be released so that the public can kind of keep this fresh in their minds and keep going and that kind of stuff. And not feel stale.
When is the first Wonder Woman? Is that 2017?
Yeah, 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen the first Wonder Woman still. I feel like I should probably give that a watch soon.
I enjoy it.
Yeah. I haven't seen all the DC joints, but I mean, you'd have to take my opinion for a grain of salt because I haven't seen them all. But that's by far the best one I've seen. I would probably say that.
Gotcha.
There's one scene in the middle that I think is probably the best scene in DC, maybe so far, in like then of the world that they've been building and stuff. But I think it falls down a little bit in the third act, but definitely, and it was definitely an improvement on what we had from DC at the time.
Which I'm curious, which scene are you talking about?
Oh, the trench scene.
Okay, yep, know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll review this as a new movie that's coming out.
I think for sure.
Oh yeah.
I mean, especially if it's in theaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good one to chalk up on the calendar for us.
Yeah. TBD. As you say that, I realize we don't have one planned for next week.
I think we should go into a holiday movie.
Okay, we'll discuss. We'll have maybe some post-pod Adam action. We'll see. But our next news story, The Last of Us series gets HBO Greenlight. I put this in here because I'm very, very excited. For those of you who do not know, The Last of Us is my favorite video game series. This is going to be the TV adaptation on HBO. So it's going to be the writer of Chernobyl, the limited series that came to HBO Max. I believe it was 2019.
Yeah.
Which was incredible, by the way. If you haven't seen it, it's 5 episodes on HBO Max. Please go watch it. Craig Mazin, so he's the writer from Chernobyl, and he's gonna be writing it with the creative director and writer of the games, Neil Druckmann, who's really fantastic. When the second game came out earlier this year, part 2, they did a simultaneous audio podcast, where with interviews of voice actors from the game, different people who made the game, but then also Neil Druckmann was a constant person that they were being interviewed, and they talked about the game, his creative process and stuff. So he's really good. I'm very excited for this. I think it'll turn out really, really well.
Cool. Yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah, I haven't played either of those games, but I'm a pretty big gamer, so I know what they are. So yeah, I mean this is big time. I'm sure they'll get it on the head.
Do you think this runs into the danger of the Walking Dead territory though? Like we've already kind of had a thoughtful, quote unquote, zombie show, and I know the games have a different style to them. I've played a bit of the first one, I should say. I haven't finished it. But like I just wonder if that's like not a lot of the same. Not even like storylines, but just imagery seems kind of also they have a very similar aesthetic style in some ways.
Yeah, I see where you could think that as someone who isn't maybe as invested in it, but like it is very different than The Walking Dead. In a sense of it's not as everybody in the group is still trustworthy in the group. They're much smaller groups, and then there's still some semblance of humanity where there is some kind of government organization that's kind of less federal, less unified, but there's more structure in the world, and so it's different, and I think it'll be nice for people who like The Walking Dead and haven't kept up with it because it's just been going on for so long. I think this will be a nice, you're introducing a new kind of concept to the zombie genre that people haven't seen if they haven't played these games.
For sure. Okay, I'm with you.
I think this could be good, and I hope it is. They don't. I'm trying to see if they have a estimated start date on production. A couple of years. All right. No trailer talk this week. Let's get into the new week in first week of December. So not a fantastic list, but it's there's some stuff on here. Monster House and the Da Vinci Code. On A League of Their Own as well. Cloud with Chance. Is 1973, and then Disney Plus got chapters 13 and 14 of The Mandalorian, and Mulan, the 2020 live action, is now available to stream to those who have Disney Plus. So you can go ahead and check that out.
Not a bad list.
Yeah. Yeah, not
right.
There's on there for you.
Day-Lewis and
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Thomas Anderson. That's the good one. Paul W.S. Anderson is the Resident Evil guy. Paul Thomas Anderson is the really good director. I was getting confused.
I was thinking about checking it out too because my brother really liked them.
He's one of those guys that you kind of gotta always check in whatever he's doing.
Yeah,
I think he's kind of universally.
House.
But yeah, I remember being surprised by Monster House's like reveal in the third act, and it being like, "Oh, okay, this is happening."
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time either.
I think I saw it in theaters, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it a few times as a kid, and I even played. I remember I had the GameCube game.
Yo, remember when
Oh
everything
man, you're
just
going
had
deep in the vault, bro.
yeah, everything just had a shitty like GameCube tie-in or PlayStation tie-in. Do they still do that nowadays?
I doubt it, dude.
I remember I had like Lord of the Rings.
It's more rare.
I had Lord of the Rings on like every platform. It was like I had like the Game Boy Advance version. I had a Game Boy Color version. I had like GameCube. It was everything.
Yeah.
The games were fun.
Oh yeah, they were incredible.
Yeah, they were really good.
Yeah, GameCube's got some gems in there.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I ain't that young. I played GameCube.
Games, right?
That was surprising when you said that, though. I'm not gonna lie.
That I played GameCube.
Like a classic.
I'm sorry, but what was that, Tyler?
Nathaniel asked about the Lord of the Rings games, and I just said that they are an absolute.
I think that's Tyler's first time talking on the podcast. We kind of just said curbside tie, and he didn't say anything.
I said thingy, reference. So I said, "What's up?"
Where you come down on this new streaming here, Ty?
I'm always Lord of the Rings. I mean, even though I own all of on multiple platforms, DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks, Steelbooks.
Ty, when I come home for winter break, I think we're gonna have to sit down 3 different nights and watch Lord of the Rings.
1,
would you be down?
Don't play with me, right? If you're gonna do it, we gotta do it. 2,
all right, I'll do it.
I think it's almost got to be like I'm off and we got to do it in like one day.
Ooh, okay. I'm down for that too.
Yeah. I think
All
that's
right.
a much better way to do it because one, you don't have the chance to get sick of it, right? If I'm gonna suck you in, I gotta suck you in for all three. And
I've
two,
seen them
I just
before, but it's been a
don't
bit.
know if I can commit to 3 nights in a
True.
row.
I wasn't saying in a row, but
Blake, bring the 65 OLED over.
Hook it right up. We're going straight to Lord of the Rings.
It'd be pretty easy. The mount's up here. I know how to, I got the tools. We can just unhook the bracket, throw an HDMI in it, call it a day.
Yeah, we'll get it going.
Just as easy as that, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we'll have to plan this out when it gets
I'm
closer.
down.
All right, cool. What we're watching? It's been 2 weeks, guys.
Real quick before we do get into this, R.I.P. Darth Vader.
Oh, did you want to go over this?
For sure.
I'm a really big Star Wars fan, and Vader is, regardless of whether you like Star Wars or not, one of the most iconic villains in film history. And yeah, I think it's just paying respects, and he's probably one of my all-time favorite villains. Another visual gag that I know Adam's not going to care for, but I do have like a one of like it's like a actual like to scale size model of Darth Vader. But yeah, he's definitely one of my favorite villains. And yeah, so R.I.P.
For context, folks, and Blake, who doesn't know much about Star Wars, the actor who played Darth Vader in the suit David Prowse has passed away.
And that's in the original ones, right? From the 70s?
Yes, in the original ones. James Earl Jones, who does the voice of Darth Vader, is still alive, thankfully.
Oh, see, that's a new fact for me. I didn't even know that the person playing it and the person voicing it was two different people.
Yeah, in the original, he actually recorded all the lines, but apparently he had a very, very thick, like Welsh English accent, and they never told him. And so he just went to the movie one day and saw it with like all his friends and family, and all his lines are cut. It's like, yeah, it's a famous source of like serious angst for him, kind of thing. And then I think like he like sued George Lucas about it, and George Lucas was like, all right, well then you can have this certain amount of profits from the film, but then always made sure to like structure the accounts in such a way that there was never actually any profit for this guy to make. So he just got fucked anyways. So it's a sad but fascinating story from the Star Wars history. So definitely R.I.P. him. I feel like he was a little hard done by, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
still iconic.
Well, rest in peace.
For sure. All right, what we're watching. So yeah, two weeks have gone by. I've watched a lot myself, but Ty and Nathaniel, what have you guys been up to?
I think
let it rip, Nathaniel. You've probably watched more than I have.
Yeah, I mean, co-wise, Ty and I we smashed out more My Hero. We've been continuing Friends. I'm sure Ty will talk a little bit more about that and later. We did watch a movie together. I'll let Ty talk about that one. And obviously we've been watching Mandalorian, which we'll be talking about a little bit later too. So for me, I watched Queen's Gambit.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was that?
That was
that's good.
Yeah, it's good, not great, in my opinion.
Yeah. From what I've watched of it, I'm the same way.
I found it a really interesting character study. At first, it's I've been thinking a lot about editing recently and just kind of its place in film, and just on like my own kind of critical film analysis and stuff, and that'll actually come up a little bit later. But I think one of the most complex and nuanced things about film is that the film always controls what you're looking at. And that's one of the main differences that separates it away from theater, is that not only does the film control what you're looking at, it controls how long you're looking at it and exactly what is happening and the actual scene itself, how close you are, how far away you are, what's happening in frame. Whereas theater, you have to basically sit there for a whole act or a whole scene and then wait for it to kind of change around you. So editing is this kind of very very filmic centered piece of the art. It's something that is unique to film in a lot of ways, and I think part of what was kind of really entrancing about Queen's Gambit is it is edited very well and shot very well at the start of the series, and I think that fades a little bit around episode 6 or 7 for me. I think just there's more emphasis put on the characters, and I can see where like the writing more focus is put on the writing and what's actually happening now that you're reaching the sort of climax of the movie or of the series. But unfortunately for me, that took me out a little bit of it because that was never the strongest part to me. So that's kind of my quick and dirty analysis of it. But really well acted, really well written, pretty engrossing story. Netflix likes to do this thing where they hire like the most attractive person that they can find for their lead role, and then just kind of populate everyone else around them with really good actors who look fairly normal, and then everyone just pretends like everyone else is on the same level of attractiveness, so it leads to this very weird dynamic a lot of times.
Oh yeah.
Like you see it in this, you see it in The Witcher, you see it in like
Yeah.
a lot of these Netflix original series. But yeah, that was the only thing that kind of broke a little bit of the wall for me in some ways.
sure.
But again, these are minor inconveniences for you. There's something a little bit that just holds it a little bit back from becoming that you must watch. It sits in kind of the same place as Mindhunter for me. If it seems interesting for you, go ahead and watch it. If you think, hey, I'm not gonna like this, you can pass.
Right.
But yeah, what else did I get into?
Did you finish the whole series?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm still only on episode like 4.
Yeah, it picks up after that, I would say. I think you're one away from kind of the big where the start of the climax and that kind of thing. So
Okay.
I also watched a series called Auntie Donna's Big Old House of Fun. I don't know if I talked about that last episode. I can't really remember. That was so long ago.
I don't believe so.
So that Auntie Donna is a sketch group out of Australia who I know from various podcasts and stuff that I listen to, and they're part of a network that they're kind of from. But they got a Netflix show. So it's a very kind of absurdist sketch sense of humor. If that sounds anything like you, just Google Auntie Donna and you'll kind of understand where they're coming from. Definitely not going to be for everyone, but for me, I found it a kind of pretty welcome distraction from kind of what's going on and everything. So it's only like 7 episodes. I think they're about 20 minutes each. You can check it out if you would like. I also did a double feature the other day after I got home from, I think it was work. I can't remember if it was Black Friday or not. But I did Muppet Christmas Carol and Muppet Treasure Island. The latter of which being a classic for me, deep in the heart, like in the annals of childhood, to the point that I wanted to name Noah, my brother Noah, Long John Silver, or George of the Jungle. Those were the 2 options. My parents decided to go with Noah, and I've never forgiven them. But yeah, other than that, everything is shared with kind of me and Ty. So since he said he wasn't really doing much, or he didn't see as much as maybe he wanted to, I'll let him kind of take it from here.
Hey guys, it's me. I'm running curbside. Coming to you
For
live.
context on curbside Ty,
yeah, I guess we should give up on that, right? I mean, I don't know if everyone is aware of that.
Yeah,
well, yes. I mean, like everyone knows we work at Best Buy, and that's kind of how we came to this because we needed our outlet for talking about movies and keeping our friendship, current. And but anyways, obviously everybody knows the past week was all holidays. Retail is all hands on deck. But because of the world's current state of COVID, curbside has taken a giant step forward as to how much it actually takes place and how big it is for our business. And it was just an absolute monster of a day, actually of a week, for over 25 miles in like 2 or 3 days of and it was fun, but I'm definitely glad that it's over. So
I worked. I think it was.
yeah, and steel toe boots. Yeah, so like when I wear normal,
He's so much faster.
Here, get into your curbside tie.
So yeah, obviously, I've been doing Friends, see where it goes. I haven't really seen an episode yet where I'm just like, I hate this. I don't want to watch. I probably, I don't know if we need to talk about it every single week. The other biggest things was so ship before we got into it, we are both very big Disney fans, and so every time the first to watch Frozen, and we did finally have our first a lot. It did not stay around, but it did happen. So Leah today. So I was very happy about that. We did get into My Hero a little bit. Also, my choice. We watched Lego Batman, which is just other than that, we'll get away from that until it's done. It's still just a wonderful piece of art.
Or they're generally considered the worst episodes. But in My Hero, they do a really good job of taking like bits from like that and then fleshing those out into actual episodes or something. So they've done a really good job of that. For most part, as a watcher, a film analyst, a humble brag master's degree. You got
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead, Adam. What you guys catch?
Yeah, so we I was home last week for Thanksgiving, and we tried throughout the week to see what days we could all get together and hang out, at least just after work, not even necessarily record or anything, because we just decided not to because we were all going to be really busy. But we wanted to hang out. Didn't end up really happening because we were all busy working and stuff. And then Saturday night, me and Nathaniel were off, so we just decided, we get together as a
He stepped back into the movie cave.
Yeah, the movie cave. We threw it back to the green room night.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Just me and you.
So I set up 4 movies that I wanted Adam to pick from, all 4 of which were kind of really good examples of what I think of when I think of genre movies that go beyond their own genre, that have something more to say than that, and how genre movies can be these really excellent film choices too, which might actually be kind of an interesting series to do on the pod sometime or something like that, or if I do something else at some other point. But so yeah, I had 4 movies lined up for Adam to pick from, and I was like, you have to pick one of these and we're gonna watch it. So that was the context.
Yeah. So yeah, there were I was intrigued by all the movies laid out for me. But and I heard of The Thing, obviously, but had never
yeah,
seen
I
it.
guess if listeners want to know, it was The Thing, the movie called Your Name, Y Tu Mama Tambien, and what was my last one? I think it was Spring.
Spring,
yeah. So
Okay,
a couple different horror movies.
Yeah, so I picked Your Name. I don't know why. It was just kind of a gut feeling. Because I normally wouldn't have picked the anime, but I was like, okay, I'm kind of want to do this. So it was an animated movie, one that I had not seen before. Nathaniel, why don't you give a little synopsis of it?
Yeah, so it came out, I think 2 or 3 years ago now. I want to say it was
2016.
Yeah, 2016, maybe 2017, released in the States or something like that. I caught onto it through another podcast, basically, but it's an animated movie out of Japan that got kind of famous really fast for becoming, I think it's like the 4th highest grossing movie of all time over there or something like that. So it just exploded in popularity. But I describe it as a romance. It's definitely like
it's a romance.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say teen. It's a young adult romance. I mean, I think they're like 16 through 20 or something like that. The story takes place over a certain amount of time.
Yeah. I got the vibe of like 17 to like 23 or so.
Yeah, so it basically follows two students or two characters, a boy and a girl, who
2 young adults.
Who when they go to sleep, they wake up in the other person's body randomly throughout the week, and that's kind of all I'll say for it at this point. But it slowly reveals itself to be more than that and everything. So it's become infamous, I think, in some circles for being like one of those movies where like you watch it and then you watch it again immediately afterwards,
which happened to me.
Yeah,
since we watched it Saturday night, and then I drove back to school yesterday, which would be Sunday night. And immediately, because I a lot of people in my fraternity house watch anime, and so I immediately was like, you guys, like, I watched this movie last night, I'm still thinking about it, I kind of wanted to watch again and show you guys, so we watched it again. And yeah,
what did they think? How did that go down in a
that says a lot itself, just seeing a movie then like taking it to somebody else, like, hey, you gotta watch this.
It was just that, it was that good. But one of them had already seen it. And he was like excited because he loved it and he knew what it meant to like show it to someone. And then the other 2 weren't really into it, but or really weren't into it at first, and weren't as into anime as my buddy Will, who'd seen it before, and I were. But they still liked it. So they still liked the storyline, just weren't as into it as because they just didn't watch anime that much.
Long time listener, the Waz has a great story in which he lent his copy to a friend of a couple friend of his, and he like borrowed it, and then like a week later was like, hey, what'd you guys think? And they were like, oh, we watched it again the next day, and then like 3 weeks later they're like, hey, we bought you another copy, we're keeping this movie.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah,
I kind of want to watch it again still.
Animation wise, it's incredibly beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, really great details. The director of it made a second movie that came out last year called Weathering with You, which I definitely recommend watching. It is a really beautiful movie in its own way and has some really kind of interesting thoughts and some makes some interesting connections. So definitely would recommend that as well. I think I talked about that actually on pod a couple weeks ago, but yeah. So that was the big one for us. Continue, H, sorry. Or unless you have any other thoughts.
No, I not really. It was a really good movie. I if you can get your hands on it, I don't know really where it's streaming at, but I would highly recommend it if you're into that kind of stuff.
Pretty sure it's on Funimation.
yeah, I just rented it through my Apple TV. Actually, no, I bought it. I bought it because I was like, I
he's
needed.
talking this movie up big time.
I was like, I know this is a movie I'm gonna want to rewatch more and show other people, so I might as well just save myself the trouble and buy it now instead of later. But I only bought the dub version on Apple TV, and I also want to get the sub version because I want to see what the subtitles are like. So.
Yeah, and that was going to be my question: is this thing dubbed or subbed? But
you can do both. But I haven't. Nathaniel, what would you say about the sub? Because I've only seen the dub.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because that was the time I was watching it with you was actually the second time that I had seen it, even though I've talked about how people rewatch it immediately. But I wanted to save my second time, I think. But
when was your first time watching it?
Probably about 6 months ago, I want to say, maybe.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't too long ago.
Okay.
But no, it must have been longer because I was in my other apartment, so sometime in the last year. But anyways, so where was I going with this? Where did I get off from that tangent? Where did it start?
Dubbed and sub.
We were talking about dubbed and sub.
So the first time I watched it in subbed, and then Aisha and I watched it in dubbed. So you definitely catch more in the dub that they spell out for you, I think, in some ways, in particular with like certain Japanese cultures and customs that are second nature, I think, to them, that they'll have kind of a natural thing in the same way that like we kind of inherently know Christianity, even though we're not religious or something like that. So I think they spell those things out a little bit more in the dub. The sub is definitely I think it's a little bit interesting. I want to say that maybe some of the emotional beats hit a little bit different because you have that original translation and that original emphasis on like where the speech pattern emphasis is. But the dub is definitely a really well done dub as well.
It's very well done, and I'm interested to watch the sub because typically I prefer the sub, and if the sub is somehow better in some ways, then I would be really intrigued to see how that turns out. But I really enjoy the dub. So yeah, that was the big thing of what we're watching for me, at least this week. That was really good. Maybe we'll do it on the pod sometime then in the future. I'd be down.
Sure.
I also watched, let's see here, Billy Madison. I rewatched that. Still good, but way weirder than I remembered. It's got some weird bits in it.
Okay, yeah, I can see that for sure.
Yeah, it's got some really weird bits in it, but it's still good. I watched Palm Springs again. That's that Hulu movie with Andy Samberg and the girl from How I Met Your Mother and J.K. Simmons. That's still good. Still a recommend for me. See, I watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles on Thanksgiving for the first time.
Hey, part of that was filmed in Woodstock.
Was it really?
Yep, that's my hometown. Everybody.
The part with the train where they walk in the field.
I honestly don't remember. It's been probably like 20 years since I've seen that movie. But yeah, I know that part of it was filmed in Woodstock.
Gotcha.
So,
and then last thing I watched was Good Time with our Pats.
Ooh.
Same director and starring the director of Uncut Gems. I forget his name, but he's in it and he's really good. Benny Safdie, yeah. I liked it way more than Uncut Gems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Good Time's an excellent movie. Both those
really
guys. Those guys are tapped into something right now that's really exciting. I will definitely watch whatever they do next. I'll be really interested to see where they go from Uncut Gems, which I think for me was probably my movie of 2019. So I'll be fascinated to see what they do next for sure.
Yeah. No, I liked Uncut Gems. I think it was a little overrated from getting a lot of high praise.
Yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but this one I think was really good. So yeah, that was it for me on my what we're watching, Blake. I know this is a little out of order than our usual order, Blake, but what'd you get to?
Yeah, for sure. I'll clean it up. Yeah, so I mean, we had some time. I got to a few things. So the first movie I watched last week was going to be Unsane, which I don't know if you guys have seen that. That's the 2018. It's kind of like a
Yeah, it's a Steven Soderbergh joint.
Yeah,
with, Claire Foy, right?
Yep. And that entire film is it's filmed on an iPhone 7. Might have been
Yeah,
iPhone
shot on
8, I
iPhone.
believe. Yeah. But it's good. That's one I actually caught in theaters. Just kind of looking to see something, and then I caught it. I was like, oh, this is pretty good. Then nonetheless, I ended up buying it on Vudu and everything. And I was like, let me sit down and rewatch it. And it still holds well, Not the greatest movie, but it's got a pretty short one time. Claire Foy is excellent in that movie, I think. And then just the entire thing being shot on iPhone just kind of makes you have a different appreciation for it,
Sure.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's one I watched. The other two I watched on Black Friday. So actually, I got out of work early that day. I think I ended up getting off around 9:30 or so.
Was it Elf? Because we were playing that all day.
No, it wasn't that.
5 times it worked this week.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, that was on like 5:00 in the morning when I was there on Friday.
Yeah.
But speaking of Friday, so actually I got home and I watched Friday and Next Friday, and those are two like super
Hilarious.
classic, like black comedies. Where every once in a while, if it's a random Friday, I'll just turn it on and get a laugh out of them. But yeah, those are two of like my not guilty pleasure word, like the feel good movies. It's like I'll put it on and I'll always enjoy it. I've seen it.
That comfort food I was talking about earlier.
For sure. So I caught those two. Those are pretty good. The third one, I think the third one's the one that takes place on Christmas. So I'll probably get to that around Christmas. That's like a Christmas movie of mine. But yeah, that's about it. The big one was Unsane. Like I said, that's 2018 one. That one's not bad. And then one thing I did catch too, I actually saw something on the internet of Dave Chappelle. And he was kind of discussing his royalties and everything of the Chappelle Show. And he's mentioned that he doesn't get any of that while it's being streamed on Netflix, and he doesn't make any money from that show anymore. And he was kind of going out like, hey, if you guys support me, like, please don't watch that show on Netflix, So as you guys know, I was watching the Chappelle Show the past few weeks, and after I saw it, I haven't watched it since. So
well, they actually took it down, didn't they?
Oh, I think they did, because that
I saw on
segment
Twitter
might have
that they
came
did, I
out
think.
like on Tuesday or so. So I think you're right, Adam, and I think they ended up taking it down a few days later after he kind of made that statement.
I'm pretty sure he asked them to take it down too, and then they obliged.
So
Well, if you're looking for other shows in a somewhat similar vein, Tyler and I did watch some of Key and Peele on Hulu.
We did watch.
they
Key
got
and
some
Peele.
classic
Forgot
gems in
about
there
that.
too, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I
It
mean,
doesn't
yeah,
their
Chappelle
highs aren't as
Show
high
walked.
as the Chappelle Show,
Yeah.
but
Chappelle Show walked so that Key and Peele could run in some way.
for sure. But yeah, that kind of takes the crown for me of what I watched. And then let's get into the big guy. So Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, let's get into our review segment here, Nathaniel.
Wait, are we doing Mandalorian thing?
Oh, yeah. Mandalorian.
it.
I haven't seen season or episode 4 yet. I'm not caught up.
You
where
haven't
you
seen
guys at?
episode 5?
There's
Or
5?
episode? Yeah, there's one that came out on Black Friday.
I haven't seen the one that came out on Black Friday.
Okay, so Tyler and I are now all caught up. So I had this written. So
That's fine.
We're trying a new thing that we had an idea for, which is basically I read 2 truths and a lie about an episode for Mandalorian, and Blake, who has almost zero context for Star Wars, has to figure out which one these are. So since I had one written for every episode, but since you've only seen 3 of them, I'll do 3 of them.
That's fine. It doesn't, whatever works, man. If you want to do all of them.
I'm going super big brain theory.
I've seen 4 of them. You know what? I've seen 4 of them. It hasn't been 5. I just haven't seen 5.
All right. So these I don't think they're like too particularly hard, and we can kind of explain some stuff as we go if there's anything that's super confusing for you. So in episode 1, A is a man kicked into a pit with a mouth. So like one of those like
right
things.
Okay.
B, does a giant worm eat a sand elephant? Or C, is a child taken by a very large space rat?
And I gotta decide the lie. Or should I try to?
No, I'm sorry, it's 2 lies and a truth.
2 lies and okay. So let me think of the one that's the truth. I gotta go with whatever it was with the sand elephant. That seems very Star Wars-esque to me.
All right, B, does a giant worm eat a sand elephant? That is correct.
And that makes sense to me because Star Wars, how I mentally see Star Wars is a giant desert.
Okay.
And whatever happens.
Interesting. Okay.
Makes sense.
All right. So episode 2. So I'm going to refer to what many people call Baby Yoda as Yodeler because he is in fact a toddler. So he's a Yoda toddler, Yodeler. Deal with it. Episode 2.
I like it.
A is Yodeler revealed to be able to breathe underwater.
Okay.
Does Yodeler eat an ice spider egg? Or C, Yodeler uses the Force to freeze a laser bolt in midair.
That's tough. All those, if I ever knew a Yodeler, they all seem like things they would do.
I try to make these ones seem a little bit more Star Warsy, like you're gonna be like,
eating the spider egg one seems very plausible, considering he's young. But so does also stopping the bolt, right?
Bolt in midair.
Yeah, but that seems very powerful for somebody of his age. I don't think he has that in his bag yet. I'm gonna go with eating the spider egg.
I think he's powerful enough to absolutely do that, or is like right on the verge of it.
Okay.
But you're actually correct. He does eat an ice spider egg.
No, it's a frog.
No, there's an ice spider egg that he eats too.
He does eat.
Oh, he does eat the ice spider egg. You're right. Never mind.
2 for 2, man.
All right, and
for three-peat.
For episode 3, A, Yodeler assists in a berth. B, an X-wing is shot down by a mortar. An X-wing being like the main fighter spaceship that they use in Star Wars, or one of, I should say. Or C, Yodeler levitates the Mandalorian's gun to him at a crucial moment.
Ooh.
I think they get harder as they go. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that Yodeler guy though seems very important. So he seems like somebody who's an ally to be able to give them weapons in need. What was the first one again?
Yodeler assists in a berth.
I don't think that's likely. He's too young for that. I think I'm gonna go with he's able to levitate somebody's gun and give it to him in need.
Well, that has happened, I believe. It did not happen in this episode. Yodeler actually assists in a berth in this one. one of the frog eggs he had previously eaten in other episodes. Spoilers, by the way, I guess. Sorry. He helps it hatch into a tadpole, or helps another one of his brothers that he didn't eat. Hatch into a tadpole.
That makes sense. I should have thought of that because I already guessed the eating of some type of egg. I should have known that he was also somebody who could do something like that.
All right, so last one, episode 4. Do you know who Gina Carano is?
I do not.
Okay, she's a former MMA fighter who has now gone on to acting.
Okay.
But Gina Carano kicks a man into a jet engine. A fishman uses a blowtorch to hack a door, like Gears of War style. Or C, Mandalorian uses his rocket pack to blow a hole in a safe.
I gotta go with the UFC lady kicking somebody into a jet engine. That seems.
It was actually a fishman using a blowtorch to hack a door.
Oh man. Very what'd you say, Gears of War style?
Yeah, Gears of War style. So couldn't quite go for all the marbles there.
Yeah.
We had 2. What was that? 2 out of 4.
Yeah, started hot. I jinxed myself as soon as I said I'm going for the 3-peat.
Yeah, you got confident. You got cocky.
That's life, man.
So yeah, depending on if you guys like that or not, we may bring that back. I think it would be fun if like each one of us came up with their own idea for the story each week, so that it's not just me reading a bunch of things and Blake trying to make good content out of it. So
I'm down.
But yeah, could be fun. Let's talk Requiem.
Yeah, let's get this main review going here. Nathaniel, for those of you, or can you give the new listeners, or those who may have forgotten, a rundown of our review segment?
Yes, so for those of you who are new listeners, or in case you have forgotten, the way this works around here at Back Row Banter is basically our main segment is broken up into two different parts of the review. The first part, we are not going to go into any spoiler territory. We're just going to kind of tell you what the IMDb summary says, give you some context for the movie itself, who's in it, how it was received, that kind of thing. At that point, we'll go around the circle, give our first kind of initial reactions to it, maybe say whether we will say, we have to make a choice, yes or no. Do we recommend this movie to someone to watch or for a friend or something like that? And then from then on, it will be spoilers galore. So we'll kind of go through the rest of the summary of the movie and then go a little bit deeper in thoughts on there. And then if you didn't want to be spoiled, but you still wanted to hear more of our voices, please do come back towards the end of the episode. There will be timestamps. We will see where this movie ranks on our big list of movies that we've watched for the podcast called the Entropy list. It's on Letterboxd. Check it out. And then we will get on out of this joint. How's that sound, Aish?
Fantastic, sir. Well, yeah, I mean, I'll toss it right back to you if you want to go ahead and give us our IMDb summary here.
Yeah, let me pull it up for you. Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to talk about the IMDb summaries. They are notoriously short and curt, but we'll see how it goes here. So Requiem for a Dream came out 2000s, R-rated, very famously R-rated. So the summary goes like this. The drug-induced utopias of 4 Coney Island people are shattered when their addictions run deep. So it's about all you're going to get from IMDb there. But, you're not incorrect in how they describe the movie there.
No, not necessarily.
But yeah, it's to break it down for you, the 4 main characters are Jared Leto, Ellen Burstyn, who plays his character's mother, his friend, played by Marlon Wayans, Tyrone, and then his love interest, played by Jennifer Connelly. And basically, all 4 of them have some sort of addiction. You kind of find out what as the movie goes on, but it cuts very quickly between the 4 of them, and they're all to the point that it's almost interwoven. But you kind of follow these characters through particularly trying moments in all their lives. So that all kind of occur over the course of 1 year, I suppose, too. But so yeah, kind of. Oh, I sorry. It was also directed by Darren Aronofsky. Most people, I would say, would probably know him nowadays from either this or Black Swan, for which he won quite a few awards. He's pretty hit or miss for me. I think when he's good, he's really good. When he's not, he's really not. But but that seems to be kind of along with his own personal credo. I was doing a little bit more research into him recently. I think he's quoted as saying, like, I either want to be booed or I want to be cheered for. So seems like that kind of guy. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts, your initial reactions? Is this the first time for anyone besides Blake? Blake, I think it's your first time.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it was my first time as well.
Oh, really? I thought this was just one of your picks that you just wanted to get to, huh?
This was on my watch list, yeah.
Okay.
Ty, was this yours?
No, I've seen this. It was probably 10 years ago, which I think is a fairly good span to wait.
You mean emotionally?
Yeah. Which we can definitely get into in a little bit.
This one's famously on one of the 25 most dangerous movies ever made.
But not my first time.
Yeah, this movie is this movie goes on that short list of movies that you watch and you're like, wow, that's great. I never want to watch this shit again.
Yeah.
Like that, whatever.
It's a harrowing
20
film.
movies you can think of. Yeah. This one's going right on there. I promise it once you watch it.
It's hard to say I like this movie, but I really like this movie. It's really fucked up and it's really dark in a lot of ways and sad, but it's really well made and it's really gripping and I don't know, it's good, but it's hard to say I like it.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. I mean, I do like it though.
I do
but
too.
It's a tough watch, certainly. I mean, I think it's a little bit easier to discuss once we kind of get into spoilers. But I do like the things they do with like the editing and the cinematography and stuff. I love like the shortcuts they do when they're actually using the drugs, where it goes from like drug to lighter or drug to needle to pupil. You know what I mean? Like that's like those scenes, like back to back to back to back. That's it's great. I just love it. You know what I mean? That's something you don't normally see that many shortcuts. At least I haven't seen something like that. That's for like maybe like action or something, you know? But what they chose to use it for is really good, and I like it. I mean, I think we'll discuss more, but that's my 2 cents. I like it. I would recommend. Caution for the viewer, though, is what I'd say.
Yeah.
What about you guys? What's your yes, no, recommend, whatever the
I liked it. Like I said, I agree with you. The editing is really good, and I like how the story is told, where it's kind of, you know, slow unravel, or you're introduced to them and you kind of get a sense of them, and then, you know, things are looking up for both characters for, you know, a little bit, and then, you know, like anything, you know, in this kind of world, it quickly fades, because, you know, it's hard to keep that sustainable. And then it more than fades, it goes bad for almost everybody in the movie, everybody involved. So it's really intense, really good. It's very hard to say I would recommend it, because it is something you have to be kind of okay with or prepared for in some ways. But overall, I would say I'd recommend it. But it's definitely not going to be for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, personally for me, I think this movie, I don't have any qualms recommending this to someone. I think it's a important film. It's very much a statement of a film. So I think anytime art kind of crosses that boundary, it's worth taking note of, for people that want to get into film. I have a kind of an interesting relationship to this movie because I desperately wanted to see it when I was younger, and it was kind of one of those movies that everyone's older brother had seen and kind of thing, and it was just it kind of occupied that same space as like Fight Club or Donnie Darko, where it has that those fans and well-deserved reputation, but it also has like the avid fans are insufferable. So like it became a lot of when I was going through film and film school, quote unquote, but going through my degrees and stuff, that like it became like every edgelord's favorite movie kind of thing, you know, like, oh, only I get Requiem. But it's very, very interesting piece of cinema and filmmaking. You know, it kind of what the guys have alluded to. Aronofsky has stated in multiple interviews he shot this like a hip hop video. So there's very, very fast cuts. A typical movie will have somewhere between around 700 cuts or so. I think this movie has over 2,000. So it's a very physical movie in that you are constantly watching, and your eyes are being assaulted in some ways with all these different changes that are constantly happening throughout the film. So
very fast paced.
Yeah, I think that is very important in tying into the kind of emotional and physical harrowing experience that it kind of creates within itself. So that's high level filmmaking in any sense. And I'll definitely talk about that a little bit more when I go on to like Nathaniel's Professor Corner during spoilers, but and kind of where that situates it in filmic history and that kind of thing, because I've been doing a little bit more research on it and that kind of thing, like I was talking about earlier. But yeah, watch this movie. I think you know, if you don't like it, I understand why. If you want to stop halfway through, I also understand why. But it is an unflinching look at addiction and kind of what that is. It's become almost a pastiche, or not a pastiche, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? It's so synonymous nowadays with addiction. It's like it's the addiction film in a lot of ways, and it's become so iconic so quickly that I wonder sometimes if so much of this film has permeated pop culture, from the music. Like, it's the music that you hear at every football game nowadays. It's everyone's hype song for some reason. You know, and Aronofsky's style, he continues that editing style in a lot of ways in some of his other movies. So like anything, I think that is so iconic so quickly in that way, it can also get stale in some ways very quickly. But I'm happy to hear from like you guys that haven't necessarily experienced this, that, you know, before that it does affect you, and it is still that powerful. It's kind of nice to get, I think, out of my own echo chamber a little bit. But
for sure.
yeah. Ty, any
Cool.
any thoughts on recommendation? Yes or no?
Yeah, I mean, I think you as a person would know if you would hard recommend this to somebody or not. You kind of, have an idea of what your friends like and, things like that.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm honestly surprised that, someone like you two haven't seen it just because it is one of those movies that is, very renowned for what it is.
Mhm.
Adam, I can probably understand because it is a little bit older. Blake, being your age and probably what you've seen, through college and stuff like that.
Right.
Through drugs and like I've seen my fair share of drug usage and
For sure.
everything like that. I'm a little surprised that you haven't seen it. I feel like
Yeah.
more people should see it.
Mhm.
Just based off of what people would probably learn from it.
Oh, when I find my kid's first joint, I'm sitting him down.
This movie you're putting on.
Like, sit down, son. He's gonna think it's like some big talking to, and I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna turn on the TV.
I really can't say anything that's already been said. I'll get
Yeah.
into why I think this movie is so smart and what it does and how it does it. But yeah, I think it's a recommend for me.
Yeah, so it looks like that's recommends all around, right?
Yep, I
Hopefully.
think that's a unanimous one here.
I believe so.
That's always promising.
All right, so yeah, that's gonna be unanimous 4-person recommend here from the Back Row crew. If you have not seen Requiem for a Dream and don't want it spoiled for you, we're about to head in the spoiler section, so please check the episode description here.
It's streaming on HBO Max.
It is currently streaming on HBO Max. That is some great information. Check the episode description for the timestamp on where to jump to. You'll be taken to our Entropy list where we rank Requiem for a Dream on the Entropy list.
Is it not on Netflix anymore? Real quick, because that's what I watched it on.
Oh, it might be.
Did you really?
Yeah,
I did not know that.
You watched it on Max.
Yeah,
okay.
I watched it on
so
HBO
it might be on
Max.
both listeners, HBO Max,
Maybe.
but
Depending
nonetheless,
on when you're listening to this, who knows?
right?
So yeah, spoilers time, gang. So it goes bad for everyone, basically.
Yeah, as
you can imagine with drug usage.
And yeah, as drugs.
Yeah,
do.
it's important to note too it is a deep character study on what is a drug and what qualifies as a drug, because the mom's addicted to television. Harry and Tyrone are definitely on heroin, and then obviously Marion is also doing heroin and coke too, and the mom Ellen Burstyn also ends up addicted to diet pills. So
yeah,
crazy movie. Crazy movie.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Very unflinching.
Yeah.
Yeah, it escalates. To me, it's more of it's a tale of two types of drug use. You have your more typical. I would say if you think about like drug abuse or drug use, you think of junkies like Jared Leto and his friend Ty,
Right.
and heroin and that kind of stuff, and they're kind of they're junkies, kind of scrambling, and they don't look very healthy at certain points in the movie. And then, but there's another side of the arm. Well, oh my god,
that's
that
famous.
Painful.
That's that's one of those famous shock movie moments where you're like, oh my god, how did I not see this coming?
Yeah, yeah. But then you have the other side of drug addiction and drug use, which is people getting hooked on it because they're getting prescribed stuff, and then that leads them to try stuff, and then they get tried on another medication. They keep going and going and going until it's kind of they go off the deep end a little bit, which happens a lot, which is some of cause for the opioid crisis that we're currently going through or went through. And to the two sides of drug use, it's very interesting that it shows both in such unique and different, but also both very scary in scary ways.
Yeah, for sure. I think so what who do you guys like in this movie? I think I'm shocked by Marlon Wayans. I want him. I feel like he should have got more dramatic roles. He's so good in this.
Yes, that's the first thing I thought when I saw this. I was like, why have I never seen Marlon Wayans do anything serious. You know what I
he's
mean?
so good. Like, and
Yeah.
he like, you read the friendship between him and Harry. Like, you
Yeah.
understand that they care for each other, but there's also this weird kind of business relationship between them
Right.
two. That is, other circumstances, I don't think they'd ever be together.
Mhm.
Ellen Burstyn's obviously incredible as the mom. I think, was either nominated. She was nominated for Best Actress. They tried to get her to go into Supporting Actress because they thought she was a shoo-in for that, but she ended up running into Julia Roberts, Aaron Brockovich year, so that took her out at the Oscars. But Ellen Burstyn's incredible in this. Straight off, coming all the way back from her Exorcist days to Requiem for a Dream in 2000. I think she just shows her range as an actor as well. Jennifer Connelly, I think, is incredible. I again have a complicated relationship with Jared Leto, but I think he's good in this. So
yeah, he's I from everything I've seen of Jared Leto, which isn't everything he's been in, but from the things I've seen him in, I like him for the most part.
Yeah, he's pretty, for me. He's pretty good as an actor in just about anything, but he does have a tendency. I think he outside of acting is where I have more of an issue with him,
Oh,
and his
sure,
kind of,
sure.
and also his kind of. Sometimes he feels like he's in a completely different movie to other people he's in other movies. But anyways, he's very
Sure.
he does a great job in this. Directing wise, I think it's strong. We've talked about that more. I'll kind of save that for later when I talk a little bit deeper about it. So as someone else talk now for a little bit, let's split up my monologues.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on the Marlon Wayans thing. I mean, I also think he's one of. It sounds crazy too. I also think the people you probably feel the worst for are probably him or Sarah. Sarah's going to be Terry's mom, Jared Leto's mom. So Tyrone's Marlon Wayans. Marion is Jennifer Connelly. Harry is Jared Leto, and then Sarah is Ellen. Is it Burstyn, I believe?
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I think the people you feel the worst for, or the people you feel for the most, are definitely going to be Sarah and Tyrone. I mean, I think even the final scene, when you see kind of the climax of all the four characters, and then Sarah's friends even come to see her, like in the hospital, and like the characters end up crying because they're like, well, we're the people who basically put her in this position, like telling her to go ahead and try these diet pills.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's tough. And she's older and everything, but it just goes to show, like, drug addiction like knows no age, gender, ethnicity, you know what I mean? And anybody who knows somebody who has struggled with a drug addiction, where I have some people who I hold close to me who have struggled with things of that nature. So it is a very difficult movie to watch. Like, that's why I'd say it's a caution. But it hits it pretty much on the head of like how things can go very, very accurately.
Yeah, I think when you're younger, the heroin angle definitely is what scares you. It's the most kind of visceral. But as I've been older and experiencing the American medical system and and having family members that go through that, like those pills that you're prescribed that you just take because your doctor tells you to, and what they can do to the chemical imbalances in your body is very realistically depicted, I feel like, in this, in which you just the characters, what's happening to it isn't her fault, and that's the kind of the big tragedy of her storyline. And in a lot of ways Tyrone ends up in the same place. I know Aronofsky's gone on record as saying that Tyrone is the only one who can reclaim his life. He's the only character at the end of the film who has some hope. So I like to think that he gets it together and makes it out of there. But life's strange.
Yeah, but even to your point though, with Harry and his mom, and that scene where he goes over there and he realizes what the pills you're taking, he's kind of like,
I love
you
that
shouldn't
scene.
be taking these, and she's like, well, how would you know? You talk like you consume drugs, and he's like, well, no, I don't consume drugs, but you probably shouldn't be taking these pills.
I love that he picks it, that he's immediately like, oh, you're on uppers. Like,
right in her teeth.
Yeah, I thought that was so smart and so realistic.
Real.
And, like, and we keep saying that. And again, I think a lot of times, we as a society, quote unquote, if you want to use the big bad S word, we just assume that people who use drugs are dumb or are wastrels or something like that. And that's a very quick and easy, well-written way of saying, no, this is an intelligent person. This is a guy that comprehends and can intuit and synthesize. And that makes, again, his story all the more tragic towards the end of it too. So great piece of writing. I love that detail that he throws in there.
For sure.
Yeah, it has there's a point in the movie where things are going up for pretty much almost everybody involved. I mean, Tyrone and Harry, they're dealing a little bit and they're making some money and they're saving up to buy, or at least Harry is trying to save up so he can start a store with Marion. And Marion's, getting into her design stuff, and then the mom is actually, losing some weight and going good on her diet and stuff, and then, it definitely just crashes, and then they keep saying like, "Oh, it's gonna get back, and we'll get back to that, we'll get back to that," and it just, it keeps spiraling and spiraling, and then they just slowly like realize they don't have control over it anymore. It's very, very sad, and then it gets more and more intense as they get more and more desperate.
I'm sorry, I agree 100%, and this is like I'm sorry I can't like really hold it back anymore because this is the part that's so smart. That's exactly what drugs are. You have an upper moment, and especially the drugs that they're using, heroin and the diet pills, and they're uppers, right?
Absolutely.
And you feel like you're on the moon. You're losing weight. You're making money, and then next thing you know, it just all goes downhill. So now you have to like get more pills. You have to get more things, and it's just so smart to get exactly. So that's why I just kind of had to like jump off the page here because you explaining it in that way just makes it so much more profound to the listener, that like that's what this movie is about. It's really about that addiction and getting that high again, and then how it goes so low, and then you have to do it again, and you just kind of see that reoccurring thing happen. And I think that's really cool towards the editing, the short cuts that you were talking about, and how you like it goes to like the little baggie and then to like their pupil blowing up.
Right.
That plays into the pace of the movie. This movie's what, an hour 45 or something like that?
Yeah, it's actually not that long. They fit a good chunk of story, into a movie that you like. If this movie was made now, it'd probably be like a 2 hour and 20-minute movie.
Right.
Yeah, it's 142.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, so all those little cuts, like you don't realize that you're in like at the end of it, like at an hour 42, but it's because the editing is done so well that you almost feel like you're getting addicted with them to this movie. Like, you know what I mean? You know when she's gonna take the pills, you know when they're gonna do the drugs. So you also kind of get like this, like, oh my god, it's gonna happen, and then you're like, oh shit, everything's gonna go wrong. Oh my god, it's gonna happen again, and then like everything just goes. So it's really great. I think it's really smart. That was really kind of my play on like the editing and how they almost make you feel addicted with the character. Because by the end of the movie, you're emotionally and physically drained, which is what drugs do to you. You're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. Like I'm out. So yeah, I think that's really one of my biggest things, and I think Adam did a really good job at kind of explaining it to the listener. So
for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with Tyler on that, and Adam, and that's why I think this movie is a big caution to some people. I mean, and maybe there are a group of people, right, who luckily never had to battle something like that, or they never had somebody in close proximity battle something like that. But if you've been in those positions, a movie like this it's so spot on to what drug abuse is. Like it's like almost uncomfortable to watch,
It wakes you up to your addictions in your daily life, whether it's fucking soda or it's cigarettes or something. You realize that almost everyone is addicted to something, even if it's innocuous.
Like
or media, right? That's a
when Shooter McGavin comes out of the TV at you, that's when you know you fucked up. So yeah, I mean, I'll kind of tie that in, I guess, into a bigger landscape film-wise. So, like I've been talking about recently, I've been kind of reading more, going back through some of my film books and that kind of thing. And one of the biggest innovations, if you want to call it that, in film at the time of its kind of inception was montage. So the grouping of images that don't necessarily have anything to do with each other together, and generally in short bursts, so to then create a new meaning from those grouping of naturally not connected imagery. So as this is kind of coming out, you have to remember that film was originally created to just recreate what we see. So at the beginning of this, everyone was fascinated by painting, and painting, the subject of painting had moved towards realism and still life. So by being able to capture real life on a moving image and make it portable, in essence, by creating film, the early film creators were basically just pushing the genre forward in sort of almost like quasi documentary way. Well, then we start to get more people telling narrative stories, and then right around the turn of the century, into the 20th century, the Russians get a hold of film, and they start dedicating filming to not necessarily the individual story or the hero journey, but towards their own political beliefs, which at the time were going more towards class. And the way that they show this, and the way that they kind of present this, kind of comes to a head in a pretty famous film by Sergei Eisenstein called Battleship Potemkin. And that is when he kind of brought montage to the masses. So montage then becomes this tool to create narrative information and elicit emotion without necessarily just having to rely on writing or character speaking or action in the film itself. So after this kind of experimentation and obsession of the form of film, you get the kind of you get the studio era, the explosion of Hollywood, the kind of Western association with the hero's journey again. And that's when, once we've kind of exhausted that in the 70s and 80s, we finally get Aronofsky bringing back this kind of heavy emphasis on montage, not so much the wild sensationalism of film that you've kind of fallen into. You know, your Jurassic Parks, your Matrixes, these huge movies that have this giant pop culture cache. And now Aronofsky's taken that, he's brought realism back from it, and that we are experiencing a story that we've all described as particularly realistic and particularly engaging, and he's adding these bits of montage into it, the eyes dilating, the drug usage. So now we as a viewer feel like we are doing the drugs with them, and so it's kind of collecting everything that we've all kind of said disparately and really diluting it down to what makes it effective for us. So really impressive work, especially for a second time director, especially kind of on the cusp of the new millennium. Definitely deserves its place in film history, and definitely worth a watch if you haven't yet, and we haven't convinced you not to. What did Leah think of it? She watched it with us.
She didn't really care for it. I asked her if she would recommend it to somebody, and she said absolutely not.
Yeah. So there's a non-film nerd
take on it.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't. I knew she wasn't gonna like it when we started watching it, and but she's also like one of the. I did, yeah, 100%. And I honestly thought she was only gonna be there for like halfway through.
Yeah, so I think it speaks to the power of the movie that it drew her in.
It really does, yeah. She was definitely bought in, and she was definitely interested, and so yeah, I mean, it definitely, it makes you bought in, and it really kind of holds you to it, and regardless of whether you would recommend it or like it, at the end of it, you still sat there and watched the whole thing.
Right. And that says enough.
100%.
So you want to see where this goes on the list?
Yeah, I mean, is there anything else anybody's got to say about it? I mean,
no, I think just, like another thing that speaks to, how this thing really holds you to it is, I would say this movie has probably every single style of camera shot that you could possibly think of in film, and it still does a remarkably good job at tying them all together in some way, shape, or form. And it blows my mind that it can do that.
Yeah, I think I said that as soon as we finished it. I was like, he uses every trick in the book.
Every
fisheye lenses, low exposure lenses, fast exposure lenses, shots on a crane, shots mounted to people's bodies. And I think that, again, ties into that physical nature of this movie, but also into that exhaustive nature of the film.
Oh,
and that,
for sure.
In that you are just like, man, I can never get comfortable with this thing because my eyes are always being changed in some way by what he's
constantly
showing us
moving,
and how
there's light changes.
Yeah, and I think it's I found it also really interesting that this movie is almost like a bottle movie in a lot of ways, in that you really only spend time with the four characters for the most the most part, and it's very rare that any more than 1 or 2 characters is on the screen at any given time, and when they are, it's generally at these huge emotional, impactful points of the film. So, I mean,
Right, there's usually "I love yous" or something of that nature.
or something's going horrifically wrong.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, just like I said, across the board, from the top to the bottom, Aronofsky knows what he's doing with this movie. He most importantly has a vision for this movie, how it's going to look, how it's going to feel, how it's going to move, and executes on every step of the way.
Yeah, I would agree for sure.
And I think he knows how it's going to make you feel.
Oh yeah, for sure, and doesn't give a fuck. Like is
No.
100% just like, no, but this is happening, and you've signed on, so enjoy.
Yep.
What is your guys' like most shocking moments or most shocking scenes from the movie?
I mean, the Jennifer Connelly thing is just rough.
Yeah, it is. That's where I was probably gonna go.
I think in the person that gets the worst is definitely Sarah, but I mean, just the visceral nature of that whole climactic sequence.
For sure.
Yeah,
With
it's
Sarah,
intense.
you're like, well, at least maybe I won't remember this. With Harry, you're like, you kind of deserve it. Tyrone, you have some of the hope that he's kind of going to get out of it, but she just goes through absolute hell and gets screwed for it, literally.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think Tyler kind of hit it on the head too, and Adam touched on it first, and Tyler expanded on it. But the worst part of the Marion thing is you realize, like, okay, she did all that. Obviously, that was terrible. She finally gets to heroin, and like realistically, she's back in that same position probably in another 2 days. You know what I mean? Like that's the part. It's like, wow, that sucks so bad.
They did such a good job of making Keith David so terrifying, and so creepy, with just like so little work on his part.
His voice, man, his voice is just so villainous, and I think they just played on that so much, and he did a really good job for the short time he was on.
Yeah. So
For
that's
sure.
that's the toughest break for me for sure.
I think for me the toughest has got to be Sarah. She's the only person in this that doesn't necessarily have a choice. She went to go to a doctor who you're supposed to trust. And, granted, pharmaceuticals are far more regulated now than they were back then. But the fact that you could just walk into a doctor's office, the doctor not even look at you and say, "Cool, here you go." That shit happened.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
And,
for sure.
like the other 3, I understand their pain, I get what they're going through, but doing a drug by yourself versus a doctor telling you to do something is far different, and you have a choice. I understand how addictive those drugs are, but you still can choose not to do them. So yeah, I guess that's my biggest thing is the other 3, do have it bad, but you can kind of see the different stages of what they go through. Like Tyrone obviously can still recover. Marion could even recover. Realistically, like you guys said, she's probably back there in a couple of days, but she does have that choice.
Right.
And then Harry, he still has the chance of potentially, done, right? So you see, different stages of that and how you can quit and how you can go over that. Whereas, like I said, Sarah, like the ECT stuff, dude, fuck that. Are you like what? No way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's wild that was even a practice. But yeah, I think she's definitely got it the worst.
I agree, except for I agree that she has it horrifically, but what I think is what prevents me from buying in, and is again is the film itself, which I think is smart because it again establishes this rules, is that in that scene where you have Sarah and Harry at the apartment, and Sarah goes on her monologue, and you realize how empty of a person she is to begin with. And how she has nothing left, and it almost becomes this kind of quasi critique of that for me anyways, of that 50s era mom or 60s era 70s era mom, where they were never encouraged as a younger person, or I'm going to say the stereotypical thing is that you can read it as,
for sure,
they were never encouraged as a younger person to explore their own pursuits, so they become latched onto this one thing in life, and then once that's gone, they're just left as this kind of shell of a person. and I think that's also tempered though, but it's tempered with this really intense sense of vanity on Sarah's part that for me makes it easier for me to be like, yeah, I personally I empathize with her and what has happened with her, but at the same time, I think that those her character traits don't cut as deeply for me as things that I can relate to, but I can absolutely see myself, falling in love with a person, becoming addicted to the same things they're addicted to, or in a terrible bizarro world that I'm in, and and then that going on further. So I think maybe in some ways what I'm saying too is that it's an intensely personal film that's going to get with everyone's going to end up emotionally connecting with it in different ways.
Yeah.
Long-winded way of saying that.
You'll certainly find a character to latch onto, and everyone will probably have their different
100%.
opinions of what hits them, what hits home the most. But yeah, I mean,
the
there's so much to take away from this movie. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're all flawed and they're all real. We
For
keep saying
sure.
realistic, but they're all naturalistic. They're all flawed, but they're all flawed, but they're all relatable. Let's go with that. So where does it rank now that we've talked about it for another 10
Yeah,
minutes?
let's welcome back the listeners here that are that skipped over the spoiler segment. We're gonna put it on our Entropy list. For those of you who do not know, the Entropy list is Back Row Banter's official list of every movie we have reviewed, regardless of genre, all in one great, fantastic list. If you'd like to see the Entropy list, you can find it in the episode description. It is linked down there. It's on my Letterboxd, so go check that out if you want to see the entire list.
It's too big to list nowadays. It defies description.
It defies description. 23, soon to be 24 whole movies. Well, Nathaniel, where would you like to put it?
Man. That top 10 so it's just such heavy hitters, bro.
I know.
I think for me this goes in between Green Room and Halloween 2018. So it would slot in at number 11, just outside the top 10. As passionately as I have talked about this movie, I think just personally and filmmaker, whatever you want to call it, that's where I'm putting it.
Entropy.
Yeah, I used a lot of adverbs or whatever you want to call it today.
Nathaniel, I would have to agree with you as I'm looking at this list. I was thinking the exact same spot. I just don't think, our top 10 is so solid, it's hard to crack in there. And if I had to just kind of say if I like which movie do I like more, Green Room or Requiem? I think I just like Green Room more. It's more approachable to more people, and it's something I'd much rather rewatch than this movie. And I think it's also just a solid movie as well. Not that Requiem isn't, but I just think Green Room's got a lot more going for it that Requiem just doesn't have, simply because of the genre of Requiem. And that's nothing against the movie and the quality of it. It's just like when you compare to the rest of the movies on this list, I think you just got to factor that part into it.
I'm with you.
Fair.
Hi, Blake.
I think all things considered, we've always kind of looked at Green Room as a solid gatekeeper, and I don't think this beats it. I think it definitely beats out Halloween as far as like an overall film goes. I still think almost every movie on here has a little bit better of a replay value than this does. But I also
exception maybe being High Tension.
Right. I think that's also kind of the point of this, though. It's not a movie that you want to watch all the time, and drugs aren't something you want to do. So I think it's meant to be something that you revisit and really take a look at it, and it's meant to be more of a bigger picture film. And I think 11 is a good place to put it.
Yeah,
Blake,
for sure. After hearing you guys talk, I mean, I'm much higher on this movie than you guys are. I was thinking of putting this thing after the OG Halloween, so that would be at 7 to put in Prisoners.
Wow.
But obviously, there's much more to it. Like, I mean, if you're talking about the rewatchability and everything of that nature, Oddly similar to Hereditary in that aspect, right? Where it's like, oh, it's a really good movie,
I was
but
thinking about that earlier, actually.
it just drains me so much, you know.
Yeah.
And granted, I have a complete soft spot for Hereditary though, so I probably wouldn't put it above that. But for everything that it is, what it brings, the message, you know, like the message is like plastered on the front of this fucking movie. So that's why I had it at that. But I completely understand where you guys have it. So I mean, I could settle for what were we looking at, 10? Or I'm sorry, 11 after Green Room.
Yeah, 11.
I could settle with that. I love Green Room.
All
right, 11 it is then. Quick question though, as we're talking about Requiem and Hereditary, which one would you guys sooner rewatch?
Oh, Hereditary. But I should probably be the last person to say that. Yeah,
I think I'd probably
like if you had a gun to your head and had to rewatch one of them, you're probably picking Hereditary.
Yeah, but I love Hereditary though. Like that's
same.
the biggest soft spot on this list for me.
Yeah,
so.
man, I think I gotta cop out and just say like I'd tell them to pick. Man, I can't choose between both of them. They're the same level of emotionally harrowing for me.
Sure.
And like Requiem, I think or I say Hereditary I'll always watch because it's like horror, you know, and that's
right.
My
so you're already like kind of geared up for that, you know?
Yeah, and Requiem I'll just watch because, you know, it's just a great character study.
Requiem makes me more like physically anxious and uncomfortable, whereas Hereditary is more emotionally uncomfortable and emotionally drained.
Yeah. Great appearance by the late great Mark Margolis. He's the pawn shop owner at the start. He's a great character actor, great voice. He's in
really?
all of Aronofsky's movies, but in some role or another. But
the biggest thing that I remember him from is God, why can't I think of it now? I just had it on the tip of my tongue.
Movie, show?
It's a show.
It's
what were you say?
I always remember in Californication as Hank Moody's dad in the David Duchovny.
Why can't I think of the show? It's the show where they're making the heroin. Jesse Pinkman.
Breaking Bad.
God, why? I'm so sorry for that.
That's meth, not heroin.
Sorry. Well, we're on heroin subject, so yeah, he's like one of the head like dealers or like in like the Mexican cartel. He has to like go through him, and so yeah, that's what I remember from.
But yeah, so 11.
11 it is.
11 it is.
Yep.
All righty.
A tough
there
feat,
it is. Another one on atop the Entropy list. Our next topic is TBD. Nathaniel, you said you wanted to do some foreign film.
Yeah, but after this movie, we need a break from before that.
All right. Why don't we discuss? Why don't we discuss after the podcast, and post pod Adam will cut in 3, 2, 1. What's up, listeners? It's post pod Adam here once again. I know what you're thinking. 2 features in 1 episode. It's crazy, just absolutely crazy. Anyway. Looks like for next week's episode, we're going to go ahead and watch Die Hard, kicking the holiday season off right. That's currently streaming on HBO Max, so go ahead, give that a watch or a rewatch, and then join us next week for Die Hard. Wow, I'm just so excited to watch that movie. Nathaniel, do you have a 5-star review? Oh, he could have just said no. Instead, he left the call. He's back. All right. I'm gonna assume we probably don't have a 5-star review since we haven't in a while, but I'm gonna hope that we do. Ty, I think it's time to fill as Nathaniel gets himself back to life.
Fill. We have a pumpkin pie in the fridge.
Ooh, I had a lot of pumpkin pie actually.
We also have like this pumpkin like dip that her mom made, that Leah's mom made, and you put it on like a gingerbread cookie. It's phenomenal.
Fire.
That sounds really good.
Dude, so good. I ate like dog shit over the last weekend.
Oh,
rightfully
so, for sure.
Yeah, I need to get back. I didn't go to the gym today. I took another off day.
Dude, I was like so hell bent on going to the gym today, and then I started playing Valhalla, and
Oh yeah,
I can't.
yeah, I know. That's so good.
We were almost to plugs, yeah.
Yeah, we were at
Yeah, do we have a 5-star review in
I didn't. Yeah, I think we do actually. This was from November 9th, but I'm pretty sure we missed it. It was Justin. Did we get to Justin's one on there in the recent episode?
It was whose?
Justin's. Tyler's brother.
Vidalis?
Yo.
Huh, what does the little punk want?
Well, I'll tell you, man. He gave us a 5-star review, which you can do if you'd like, because if you do, I'll read it, and it can be whatever you want it to be. But it has to be 5 stars. That's the rule. I don't make the rules. I just enforce them. So, anyways, this is our 5-star review this week. It's from KP Boy9. So here it goes. It says, "I listened to 5 of these in a row." Thank you.
Oh, okay.
So I'm giving an overall review of the 5 that I listened to. I have to say that I was a big fan of the horror month. It was fantastic, and I think Original Halloween is the best Halloween movie, hands down. Trick or Treat is definitely one of the better gems of the last few years, and thanks for the shout out, Tyler. Appreciate you. I can't wait to listen to the next episode, which was Django. It's a great Western. Do Tombstone after. Maybe we'll put that one on the list. I do like Tombstone. I'll be your Huckleberry. And then he says, peace out. So thank you, KP Boy9, whoever you are out there. But we appreciate that you're listening. Appreciate you that you're giving your 5-star reviews. Please, other listeners, do so. We are trying to grow so. Ain't that right, Adam?
Oh, you know it.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I was going to say, go ahead and throw the plug in.
Yeah, man. Share
you
the
want
pod.
me to go? My time?
Yeah, share.
Well, we gotta get the show plugs, man.
Yeah,
I don't know the show plugs. Those are yours.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it. I'm saying share the podcast. We would love to grow. So share with a friend, a family member, a drug addict, potentially. Maybe you're a drug dealer. Who knows?
I was gonna say, or a drug dealer.
Yeah.
And if you are a drug dealer, take a look at yourself. But
stop it.
Do what you got to do.
Okay. All right.
Or a street drug dealer,
Move to Florida.
You can find us on Twitter at Banter Row. On Instagram, it's Back Row Banter Pod. Our YouTube is Back Row Banter, and our email, if you want to contact us for any questions, comments, concerns, grievances, anything of that sort, you can do so at backrowbanterpod@gmail.com.
Erks, I'm coming for you for stepping on our territory with the bear versus gorilla debate. Unless, of course, you're a listener, which thank you for listening. Please do share us.
Of course. BlakeHolder, where can the people find you at, my man?
Letterboxd will be on there. BlakeHolder, that is me, first and last name. Real quick, speaking of the gorilla grizzly bear thing, now after doing a lot of research on animals via YouTube, I've come to the conclusion, I think I've already said this on record too, I think I got to take a grizzly bear over a gorilla, man. I don't think gorillas are equipped to fight.
110%.
If they were equipped to fight, though, I would pick a gorilla. But I just don't think,
sort of
yeah, I don't think their brain is really operating like that, so I think a grizzly's taking them every time.
Okay.
It would have to be like a gorilla grod with like armor and like super brained to be able to beat
telekinesis.
Yes.
Telekinesis. How scary would that be, man? If gorillas
that's a real thing. Gorilla Grodd, who's a Flash villain in the comic universe of the Flash, is a super powered, super brained gorilla who also has telekinetic
gorilla. Yeah,
that's crazy.
And he's like twice the size of an average gorilla, so he's massive.
He's the king of Gorilla City.
Yeah. That's like the only thing I think that would be able to take a grizzly bear, I don't know, man. Polar bears would obviously kill them. They're way bigger. I think a Siberian tiger could probably give a grizzly bear a run for its money.
We'll see on next episode.
Well, if you put them in water, I think an orca whale could really take on a grizzly.
Oh, for sure. I think a killer whale is taking on a lot of things.
14-foot great white shark. Like, what are you, stupid?
Yeah.
I said orca. I didn't say great white shark.
No, I know what I'm saying. Your first one,
yeah, those things are taken.
But like,
no, the orcas are sick.
The Blackfish. Watch that movie, folks.
They're wild.
Ty. Curbside Ty.
Hi guys.
Where can people find you besides the curbside?
Exciting news in your world.
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitch. It's El Trabajo at twitch.tv. It's ELTRABAJO87. I did get a logo made for the stream. I don't even know if it's gonna be something that is gonna blow up. I probably won't. But it was a really cool investment. I'll definitely be putting that up on the stream next time I do stream. But yeah, it was cool, and it's also a copyright image, so I can do whatever I want with it. I can do merch or whatever, so it's cool. So yeah, if you do watch the stream, you'll definitely see that up on the next stream. Otherwise, you can find me on Instagram, Letterboxd, and Twitter at Tyler Vidalis, VIDALES.
Shout out the stream.
Blake, or Blake went? Did Blake go? Blake didn't go. Blake went.
I did. So
Nathaniel
we'll pass it on. Yeah.
Blake went.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd. I believe it's Nathaniel G92. Nathaniel Gingrich on Instagram, or Nathaniel. Look me up. You can find me. Sandpiper tapes. Listen to it, folks. Might be more to that coming soon. Definitely want to grow that a little bit. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, keep it locked and loaded for any news coming your way from me. That's it for me. You go get it. I should close it out.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. I'm at Schwartzy. I think that's my Letterboxd as well if you're trying to find me. And then I'm on Twitch too, twitch.tv/Aish. But I haven't been streaming much. I still want to stream. I'm busy. I'm a busy college boy. Yeah. I think that's it for us this week. Catch us next week for whatever post-pod Adam told you to watch. That movie is also in the description in case something happens. Who knows? Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to episode 27 here. We'll catch you guys in the next one. We'll BRB.
Be excellent to each other, and we'll BRB.
Tell someone you love them. Thanks for listening. Pass on the word. Like everybody keeps saying, we would like to grow. And take care of yourself. Also, do drugs. BRB.
Yeah, dare. That's one of the first things we learned when we were younger. Say no to drugs. And also, Big Cat fun fact. We're recording on today, which is November 30th. November 29th is actually National Jaguar Day. So
cool.
Quick shouts out to that. If you see a jaguar, I probably would not approach one in the public or in the wild, I should say.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
But wish him a happy Jaguar Day.
Yeah. If he understands you,
they deserve it.
You might appreciate it. He or she, I should say. But that's it. BRB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
How was the store today, Tyler? Decent?
It was all right. Yeah, nothing too crazy.
Oh, I want popcorn.
Real big, some like pops busyness, and we'd be running around for 45 minutes to an hour, and then it'd slow down for 2 hours, and so.
Right. Can you guys still not rip any of those Sonys? Because I know when we were there for obviously the Black Friday week, we were completely sold out on that shit.
Yeah, still not a whole lot in stock as far as like the super high end stuff.
Bro, TVs are gone.
Yeah,
there's so few TVs left, and receivers too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the receivers were there. There was a guy trying to get something from me Saturday, like around close.
Yeah,
it's just a barren wasteland.
Yeah, and I was like, look, man, I mean, we probably have 3 of these things here.
Yeah, ties in a lot with this movie this weekend or this time. It's dry out there, bro. Everyone's fiending.
Yeah, that movie that's a fucking handful. I'll tell you that. That's the first time I've seen that movie too.
Is that the first time for you, Ty?
First time in a really, really long time. I think I saw it probably over 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, it's like this Donnie Darko, like
yeah. Yep.
They all came out around the same time.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in a long
Fight
time
Club,
either.
that's another one too.
Yeah.
It was like every like older brother's favorite movie.
Mhm.
And the arm's famous.